Any day that's a Kingy day is a good day here on Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. We've got Adam King coming up in about 2 minutes on the program with his trade deadline, silly season, second half, stash winner, candidate, explosion, whatever we want to call them. So you're definitely going to want to stay tuned for that. Hit that subscribe button while you're getting settled in. You can also like the program. That would be super cool of you all, and a 5-star review also goes a long way. I'm Dan Bespris, your gracious host, at Dan Bespris on Twitter, Old Man Squad on Blue Sky. Come check that out. And as always, hang out with our buddies. Hang out with our buddies at Bet Online, the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting in 2025. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-timer, Bet Online is your ultimate game day companion with the largest selection of odds on everything from the Super Bowl. Yeah, the prop bets are coming. The NBA, college hoops, NHL, and UFC. Bet Online is your number one sports betting source for the new year. Every touchdown to every three-pointer to every hat trick. Bet Online has you covered with odds, stats, and more for every game, every play, and every win. Bet Online, the game starts here. Okay, you've probably heard enough from me, so sit tight. Like I was saying, any Kingy day is a good day. What's up, Adam? How you doing?
Pretty good. Yeah, our kids are back to school in about a week, so that's nice. Get them out of the house.
That's the end of your summer break right now.
Yeah. So we've got, I think it's basically exactly a week, and the kids are back at school. And then we sort of get into the grind for a few months, and then fingers crossed, it's off to summer league for me.
Man,
happily,
that's awesome. So I don't know if people know, and we'll get into the stash stuff in just a second, but Kingy's you're like kind of the unofficial ambassador of this plan of getting fantasy analysts together in Vegas this summer, and I'm really hoping to make it, especially because you're coming from Australia, and I would be coming from 240 miles away. So I feel like I don't really have an excuse on this one. I could walk there, and I mean, it would take a while, but I could potentially do it. This could be the greatest collection of nerds at NBA Summer League that the world has ever seen.
Yes, there's quite a few names in my little group chat. Still waiting on confirmation from a lot of them, but we'll give them time. But yeah, there could potentially be sort of 15 of us.
Oh my God.
All in one space at one time.
Oh Lord. Well, you'll find me, Summer League's going to have my attention for some of it. You'll also find me at the craps table in the sports book. I'm a little bit of a degenerate, but anyway, people don't want that. Everybody's going to yell at us if we talk about stuff that's not trade deadline and second half stashes. Everybody also knows that when I have guest experts on the show, they are in control. First of all, y'all can find Kingy on social media at AdamKing91. He is the pride of many things, actually, at this point. FBI, OMS. Wait a minute. You're doing articles. Is it Roto
Wire?
Yeah, I got that. See,
yeah.
I was on my way there.
Yep.
I was waiting to make sure you weren't going to stop me as I was getting through that word.
Yep.
But today, you are the pride here of Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. So where shall we go first? Who do you like?
All right. So I've got 4 names.
Okay.
Well, I've actually got 5, but one of them I'm not sure on. Let's start with let's go to Chicago and start with Matas Buzelis.
Oh, interesting. So he's a name that's popping up a little more often than I expected. I'm excited about this.
Okay.
How do you see this playing out? What's the chronology of it?
Well, I mean, preface all of these names by saying that we need the teams to demonstrate some common sense. And we know that when it comes to teams like Chicago, there is not a lot of common sense with their rotations and their roster decisions. And but hopefully the Bulls will understand and realize that, hey, we need to rebuild here. We are not a contending team, but that's been the case for the last decade, and they haven't realized that. So we don't know if that'll change. Buzelis has been pretty limited this season, if we're being fair. He hasn't really been given, I don't think, a great opportunity to to get out on the court consistently. We've seen flashes. He's going to be in the dunk comp, and I think a lot of people who sort of stumbled across that news that he was going to be in the dunk comp were a little bit like, well, why? Why is this guy going in the dunk comp? But he is very athletic, and he's a very good player. He can handle the ball a little bit. He's really, at this point, I think, an untapped resource for the Bulls, because, as I said, they haven't trotted him out there for more than 20 minutes. I'm just looking at his box score here, as you've got it up there as well. He's played more than 20 minutes, 3, 5, like, I don't know. You could count it on two hands, the amount of games he's played, 20 minutes or more. So it's been a little bit disappointing. So we would need some changes here, obviously. I guess the Zach LaVine trade rumors continue to churn along. But now we're sort of hearing, well, Bradley Beal might come back to Chicago. I have no idea why they would do that. It's basically replacing one player with the exact same player. And unfortunately, to me, that sounds like the Bulls would be trying to win games if they're getting Bradley Beal.
Please no.
But so we would need some things to fall into place here. But Patrick Williams was moved out of the starting lineup in the last game. We don't know if that's a thing that's going to stick. But ideally, yeah, I'd just love for them to run out. Well, Lonzo Ball could be on the move as well.
Right.
But yeah, I think Buzelis just has some flexibility there where he can play on the ball, he can play off the ball, he can play as a guard, as a forward. So I'm not exactly sure where he fits in, but I think common sense to me would say that once we hit March, he should be starting and playing 25 minutes a night. But again, this is going to depend on where the Bulls, if they're even within sniffing distance of that play-in game, they're probably going to push down that path of mediocrity again. So it's one that I would love to see, but I have very little confidence given the Bulls' history.
All right, so it sounds like you're maybe ramping up in the names on today's show. This one is more of the a little bit more of the reach name, maybe a little bit later towards silly season as opposed to trade deadline. Am I reading your inflection properly there?
Yeah. This is more of a almost a hit and hope kind of a stash that you can. I don't know. To me, like I guess there's two versions of a stash. There's a stash that is actually putting up some value now, so
right.
you can just put them in your roster, and they're not doing a lot, but they're doing enough. Or there are those players that are just doing absolutely nothing at the moment, and you have to be able to accept you're going to get zeros or close to for the next month. And I think Buzelis is in that second bunch.
Who would be the next name on the list?
Well, my main one I'm going to leave till last.
Okay. Save the fun one.
Yeah, we'll save the fun one. So who do I want to go out of these three? I have two. Well, let's go with Bruce Brown, because
I love that.
Yeah, he is not a rookie. He's not someone that sort of is in a position where he hasn't proven himself yet. Bruce Brown, we know, can be a nice fantasy player. Mm-hmm. He's actually looked pretty good in the last, what do we want to say, 2 weeks? Almost 2 weeks.
And just absolutely wears the crap out of a cowboy hat.
He does. He does. He loves his cowboy hats. But the minutes are up. I mean, the whole showcase discussion, I hate that discussion, but are Toronto thinking that they can put him out there and teams will be interested? Teams are going to be interested in Bruce Brown whether you play him or not, because we saw what he did in Denver and we saw what happened to Denver when Bruce Brown left. So we've got a good sample size of what Bruce Brown brings to a team. And I think for him, he is one of these players that you can put in your roster right now, and he's doing enough. He's playing 25 minutes in 3 of the last 4, scoring, getting steals. He sort of sneakily gets rebounds. He's a little bit. I don't know. I sort of think of him as a Josh Hart light kind of a
Yeah.
player. So doesn't really blow up in any one category, but he's a good rebounder as a guard. He can get assists. He can get defensive stats. He can hit threes. He's not a great 3-point shooter. So I think a lot of teams should be sort of falling over themselves to try and get Bruce Brown if they can. So we would need a trade, I think, for this to be worthwhile, because I'm not sure. I know Toronto are playing him minutes now. I don't know if that would be the case if we get to March and they haven't moved him. I don't see why they would be forcing minutes into him. They've openly sort of discussed the fact that they want to trade him, and it makes sense. So this one is a bit of it's a situation where you could get some value now, but we would actually need a trade, I think, for him to have sustainable value rest of season.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a guy like Brown easier to talk about as a stash because he is an active stash, and that you're going to get some. You might get less after the trade deadline, but at least it's something right now. You're not just wearing zeros like Buzelis, who you just talked about. Like you said, he's more of the sort of big home run hack thing. He's basically doing nothing at the moment. Whereas if it clicks there in March or whatever, okay, great. With Brown, it's not going to move as far probably in either direction. Either he's going to do less in Toronto or he's going to do more probably somewhere else, unless, Grady Dick gets hurt or RJ Barrett gets hurt or something like that. But it does allow you a little bit more flexibility because he's actually posting good numbers. I got to say, and I know that Grady Dick was in foul trouble. His last couple of games have caught my eye a little bit, if only because I know he was putting up big numbers in the 3 games prior, but he was doing that in about 22 minutes. He's at 28 over his last 2 ball games. That's kind of weird and notable, and that's probably enough for him to actually put up fantasy value. Thinking of it, I don't want to say long term because we're talking about like a week and a half here to the trade deadline, but I mean, if he's playing 24, 26, 27, 28 minutes, that's a useful player right this second. Where do you have more on Bruce Brown, or do you want to go to the third guy now?
No, I agree. And like you said, I think he is doing enough right now. And I don't know whether this is Toronto almost showcasing him, if we want to phrase it that way. Like I said, I don't think they need to, but maybe they're just trying to get him out there on the floor, so teams can get a look at him. But yeah, he is someone you could grab now, theoretically, in a standard league, and he's doing enough to hold value right now. Okay, who do we want to go next?
I know you're saving.
All right, let's. Yeah, I'll still save my main guy, and anyone that watches my show would know who my last guy is, I think, because I talk about him quite a lot. Let's go with Justin Edwards for my next one.
Oh, Justin Edwards, a new name on the board.
Yeah. Okay. Good. We like new names.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Philly are a train wreck. Let's be honest. That's
yes,
the PG way of phrasing it.
Thank you. Yeah, the old man squad here. We keep it like radio edit level.
We do. So yes, they are not their arrow is not pointed in the right direction. Paul George is out today. Joel Embiid, I don't know. Does he even play for them anymore? We're not sure. Who knows? So this again is relying on them probably going down that path of, okay, this is a lost season, and I have to think we're pretty close, aren't we? I mean, I don't check the standings all too often, but
the funny thing about it is they're fighting for the 10 seed with the first team we talked about, and that's the Chicago Bulls. So someone's gonna, pardon my expression, someone's gonna trip over their own dick into that 10 seed, and it's gonna be so dumb because I was talking to Mike Barner on the show yesterday, and he was like, the key for the Bulls is they want the 9 seed because then you get play in home game revenue for one game.
Yeah.
The 10 seed, nobody wants to go on the road and immediately get eliminated, but someone's gonna, because I mean, I don't think it's gonna be the Raptors, right? They're not coming out of nowhere to pass a bunch of people. I mean, I guess they could, but yeah, Philly And then Paul George now with the pinky finger. Like, if it ain't one thing, it's another.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty depressing in Philly. So this, again, would rely on them somewhat packing it in. I think they'll roll out Tyrese Maxey, but Justin Edwards has played a pretty significant role the last 2-3 weeks. You've got his numbers up there, I think. Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
You can see he's playing 20 plus minutes, 30 plus minutes. He's had some better games than others, but look, I mean, he's getting some defensive stats. He does stuff. He's not. I don't know. I don't think we have a sample size big enough here to say, okay, you have to stash this guy. But he does seem to be the favoured option when they're missing players, like a Paul George. He's the main example there, over someone like a Ricky Council, who has also had some moments this season, but they tend to be going Edwards over Council. We will see what this looks like again tonight because they're playing without Paul George again. Kyle Lowry is not coming for anyone's minutes, hopefully. Eric Gordon shouldn't be coming for anyone's minutes. Their roster as a whole is not very pretty. So I just hope that without Jared McCain was their other, like, he would have been
that would have been the real fun
on this
one.
list. But with him gone, I just think Edwards is an interesting one. And again, he's sort of a bit Bruce Brownie, but not to the same level. He's playing enough. He's not consistently putting up numbers, but he's on the court. So in deeper leagues, you could actually just pick him up and treat him as an active stash. In standard leagues, he's probably more of a we need injuries, or we need the team to actually, I guess, pick a path and stick to it. Whether Philadelphia do that, I don't know. But yeah, he's probably not as exciting as those other two, but I don't mind Edwards as a stash as well.
I like that you're pulling some new names for the program today. Yeah, Justin Edwards is an interesting one. It seems like the one thing that you're getting consistently out of him is 3-pointers right now. I guess the rebounds are not terrible. It does kind of feel like he's one of those guys that almost needs all of the other usage dudes out of the way to finally be like, oh, yeah, I'll go ahead. I'll take 11 shots today. Because he did it once. January 14th, he took 16 shots. But despite big minutes in a lot of these other games, he's kind of stuck in that 6, 7, 8 shot range. And you just need like that one little push to get him over the threshold on the how much is he willing to do on offense thing. And yeah, I mean, you know, this Laker game will be an interesting one. I don't know when this show is going to drop. It might be after that game is over. He seems like just the kind of guy that would go put up 15 to 20 against the Lakers because they're just like, meh, we'll guard Tyrese Maxey and anybody else can do whatever the hell they want. But that, yeah, I mean, it's going to probably come down to whether or not Philly wins any games like over the next 2 to 3 weeks. And I guess whether or not Joel Embiid can actually play like 4 or 5 consecutive basketball games. So there's a couple of things at play there. All right, Kingy, before we do your favorite, because saving that for the end of the road here, what you working on these days? Let's hit me with some promo.
Well, daily shows. So 2 shows a day. I've actually got 3 shows a day for the next 4 or 5 days.
Good gracious.
Just with guesting on other shows. So this show tomorrow, I'm on the Roto World show with Raph and Noah. The next day is Mailbag with Josh. Next day after that is my trade show with Noah. So plenty coming up. I believe that we've got a trade, a deadline show coming up, don't we?
You believe correct. You and I will be co-hosting that with the great David Williams. That's going to be at least a 3.5-hour show, probably longer, depending on things that happen. And as of you and I recording this show, the news just broke that De'Aaron Fox basically wants out of Sacramento. We're not going to do a deep dive on that because, again, I don't know exactly when this is going to air. But between that and Jimmy Butler, like, we may need plenty of time on that live show, and we're going to have it. You're going to be waking up at some ungodly hour to do it, too. Oh, Lord.
I am. Yeah, 5 a.m., I think.
You're going to be on at 5 a.m. That means you got to wake up
Yes.
before that.
Oh, 3 minutes to 5.
Yeah,
Plenty of time.
4:57.
We should. I think we should do. We should take bets, maybe on Twitter, the over under for how many kids run on your end. How many
Oh,
kid appearances do we get on the show?
the first hour of mine is going to be like all kids, but then hopefully my wife already knows that she's on double drop off that day. Every once in a while, we have to sort of like tap the other one instead of splitting them up. So
Yep.
at like 7:50 Pacific time, those little turds should be out of here, and
Okay.
then it should be quiet after that. But before that, they're going to be fighting about who's on watching what cartoon, and like my wife's going to be trying to sunblock both of them, and they don't like the way she does it. Apparently, I'm very good at sunblocking children. Hey, there you go. I
Skill
know.
that you never knew you had.
Yeah, I was thinking I was going to put up a one of those little tear off banners on some streetlights that's just like, hey, you want a stranger to sunblock your child? Call Dan. Well, I don't know what would go wrong with that. Anyway,
No,
find
it seems
Kingy.
Herbert comes to mind, doesn't he? The off a Family Guy, and
Hey.
I know you.
Yeah, you need somebody to sunblock your children. Adam King 91 on Twitter. I'm going to end up with no career by the end of these shows. What the hell was I talking about? Oh, you got your fourth and final. You got your big one here. Who's your favorite?
I do. So my favorite is, let me drag him over in front of me here. My favorite is Dayron Sharpe from Brooklyn. I don't know whether has he popped up on the shows.
Only I've talked about him. None of the guests have talked about him yet. And I didn't call him one of my own stashes. I just mentioned him as sort of like kind of moving onto the radar here with Claxton's. We don't know what the hell he's going to be doing. But look, this isn't for me to talk about. I basically said on one show, I was like, this guy's moved on to like kind of my second or third tier of trade deadline guys to watch, but no one else has brought him up until now. Which, by the way, I got to give you a lot of credit because the last time you and I did a show, it was, well, we've done a bunch of shows over the weeks, but like we did a specific buy low show. And I mean, bad luck lately, but it was on that show that you were like, Derek Lively is taking the minutes at center. And right from that moment, it was like all Lively until he got hurt. But
yeah,
that was a massive hit with a bad luck stretch at the end. All that to say, everybody take note here. Kingy knows what he's freaking talking about. Tell me about Dayron Sharpe.
So I actually had, when we discussed this show, which was, I don't know, a bit over a week ago, we said, okay, let's do this show. I actually had Khalil Ware as my main guy. And then bloody Miami, they went and started him and took him off my list. So so Khalil Ware is not on my list anymore. But Dayron Sharpe is. So I think I have him stashed already in, I think, 2 or 3 leagues. Nick Claxton has not been good this year. I think we can agree on that, both in terms of playing time, production. He's been relatively healthy, but I just think the Nets, I mean, we talk about the Bulls and the Sixers and what is their path and what decisions are they going to make. The Nets, their decisions are pretty clear here. They are not playing to win games. There is no point having Nick Claxton out on the floor, I don't think. Cam Johnson will be gone at some point. Who knows what's happening with Ben Simmons? They're probably the hardest team to project in terms of nightly value because we don't know who's playing 25 minutes, who's playing 15, who's playing 35. Clowney falls into that bunch at the moment. So his minutes are up and down. He played 23 minutes in the last game. He had a double-double, but Claxton was in foul trouble. So he is playing. So he isn't a complete stash in terms of not giving you anything at the moment. He is playing 15 plus minutes a night. Noah Clowney injured his ankle in the last game. We don't know if he's going to miss much time. I don't think that has a huge impact on Dayron Sharpe's minutes because I don't think they're going to play him and Nick Claxton together a whole lot. But I just think, I mean, people are calling for it you see on social media, a lot of the Nets fans are saying, just play Dayron Sharpe. We don't need Nick Claxton out there. He gets defensive numbers. He's a good rebounder. He's
very good rebounder.
Yeah, he's efficient enough. He's good from the free throw line generally, not every game, but much better than Claxton. And yeah, I mean, you look at his averages. Where are we? If I pull up averages here, over the last week, 9.5, 6.5, 1.3 steals, 0.8 blocks, 83 from the line, 65 from the field. So
Yeah.
I think if he can get to, well, if he can start, I think we're good to go. If he starts and plays 28 minutes, top 80 player, I think would be his floor. Whether we get to that, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm more confident in this one than I am the Buzelis one, for example. I think Brooklyn will eventually either shut Claxton down or just make some rotational changes. So Sharpe, for me, he's doing enough in my specific builds that I can hold him. And then the hope is that once we move through the trade deadline, the Nets lean into him a lot more and we get 25 plus minutes a night. And then I think we're good to go.
Yeah, and I mean, the last ball game for Sharpe, where he had 12 points, 11 boards, and 3 steals on good percentages, all that took was some Nick Claxton foul trouble. It's not like this is not an impossible scenario. Ben Simmons was out, but are we really going to see a whole bunch of Ben Simmons down the stretch for a tanking team? I certainly hope not. I guess it goes back to your point of expecting teams to do logical things. What's nice about some of this god-awful pre-tanking, because for the most part, the amount that these teams are tanking is wretched and super annoying and gross, but it does telegraph what they're likely to do from this point on. They basically said, this is who we are now, whereas a team like Chicago hasn't telegraphed what they are yet. They're still playing their guys, and I know Zach LaVine is out for a few games for personal reasons, but when they're healthy, they're playing their guys, and they're foolishly trying to win games. Whereas, Utah, Brooklyn in particular, it's been awful to try to watch these teams. And if you have anyone on them that's been in the NBA for more than about 2.5 seasons, it's been terrible. But at least we have a better idea of what they're likely to do going forward. So I'm glad you brought up Day'Ron Sharpe. He's a fun one. He's had a couple of good games. He's also a very confident young man, and with the way he talks about rebounding, the way he talks about just I'll knock anybody out of the way to get a rebound, which that's the guy you want on your team. If you're first of all, just streaming for boards right now, he would be a decent source of those. And then, a guy that's getting you 8 and 6 or whatever, that's not killing your team in the short term. So that sort of semi-active stash also pops up. Although Brooklyn's schedule leading up to the trade deadline, not outstanding. It's not terrible next week. They've got a back-to-back early in the week. But
I think just looking there, because the stats I've got up don't split the rebounds. Your stats do. What's very interesting is the offensive rebounding numbers.
There's a ton.
Yeah, that to me is the sign of a very good rebounder. Moussa Diabate was another example of this for about 2 or 3 weeks. Very elite on the offensive glass. Because defensive rebounds, I mean, I'm not going to say anyone can get a defensive rebound, but it's certainly far easier than
Brooke Lopez would beg to differ, my friend.
He would. But I mean, even like those players like Luka and Russell Westbrook, who have always been good rebounding guards, majority of those are defensive rebounds. And that's because of the schemes and the fact that Steven Adams, for a long time with Russell Westbrook, was just a beast inside and was able to block out a whole team so that the ball would just fall on the floor for Russell Westbrook. But to get an offensive rebound, it's really just you outworking your opponent and getting to position, reading the ball off the glass. So that is just a really good skill to have. And I think, as you can see there from his offensive rebounding numbers, it's not uncommon for over half of his rebounds to be offensive. And I don't know percentages and stuff, but I would say that is elite. If we were looking at the league, that's got to be elite.
Lot. I mean, five of his last 7 games, he's had more offensive rebounds than defensive rebounds. So he's just out there snatching away from people. And that's great because that's a guy who's going to get boards. even when the other team is making shots, he's going to still get boards because his own team is going to miss them. It makes it so much easier. Now, I don't know is there enough fuel in the tank to rebound like that for an entire season? Probably
Yeah.
not, but we
Yeah.
don't need an entire season. You need, 1.75 months of it, basically.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about here. So, Day'Ron Sharpe, I'll scroll the window back up so everybody can see who we're talking about, is the name there, the current backup center for the Brooklyn Nets. And now, wait, I can do this. Technology. We're back at normal head size. Kingy, you are officially off the hot seat. I love it, man. Three of the 4 names you brought up on today's show had not been discussed on a prior stash show. I love that, especially because of those 3 names, 2 of them are actually doing stuff right now. So a really cool little smattering of second half potential winners. He is Adam King 91 on social media. Follow him immediately. Check out all of his work across the different boards, the podcasts at FBI and Old Man Squad, the writing at RotoWire, the writing at FBI over the years, just all the good stuff. And plan a trip to Vegas because you'll probably stick out like a sore thumb. You're taller than the rest of us, I think. Most of us.
I will, but I think there's a few tall analysts coming. I know Alex Barutha, he'll be there. He's quite tall.
Oh, he's a tall fella.
I think Raf is tallish.
I don't know. I know I'm going to be the little guy.
Josh is quite tall as well. So Josh will be there.
Is Josh coming?
I think so. Yeah,
yes,
pretty sure
there we go.
Josh will be there. Yeah, so it'll be an interesting mix. I think they're trying to organize a pickup game.
Analysts are. Who's going to be the other little guys?
How
tall is
actually?
Noah?
Well, Alex Reclean is not huge.
Yeah, that's fair. He's a fellow Ashkenaz like myself, so that tracks.
Dan Titus, I don't know how tall Dan Titus is.
All right, we short guys, we're going to wear our platform heels while we hang out with you.
Yeah, and I'm not sure which other Aussies are coming. I don't know if Matty G is coming over. DMAC might be coming over. I don't know. Anyway, it'll be fun. Whoever turns up.
A blast. Everybody, keep your eyes peeled. I know it's a few months down the line. Thank you, Kingy. You're the best, man. I'll talk to you soon.
No worries. Thanks, mate.
And that was the great Adam King, 91. He was not born in the year 1991, if that's what you're wondering. He's actually older than me. Yes, that's right. Older than me. A true member of the Old Man Squad. Make sure to check him out on social media. Everything that Kingy does is outstanding, and it's just been great. So I've been keeping track of how often folks have come on the show, and King is going to lead the pack because he's part of the Old Man Squad. But this was his 10th time officially on this feed, Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. So welcome to the double-digit club. I think Alex Rickleen is in second place. I think he's at 7. So that's also actually quite impressive because I've only had this thing going since I think May of last year. But you don't care. Check out our friends at UnderdogFantasy.com immediately. Sign up today using promo code OLDMAN. That's an easy one to remember, right? Promo code is OLDMAN. Old Man is the promo code. Or just click the link in the show description. That'll take you there, and it'll input the referral code all by itself. The reason you're doing that is because when you sign up with those codes, you get $1,000 potential deposit match bonus. That's 50% of your deposit and a free play up to $1,000 in deposit cash and a free play to get things started. And you can see it if you're watching the video here that I scrolled on our YouTube show. As you add things, let me see if I can go back and find where it was. There it is. You can see down at the bottom there, it shows how it multiplies as you're creating these pick'em boards. So your first one, for nothing, you can't do 1. It's got to be 2 or more. Second one is 3x, then 6x, 10, 20, 25, 40, 80. If you want to go totally crazy, you could put just a couple of bucks on like an 8 projection pick'em board. And if that pans out, then outstanding. Then you're playing forever. It's wiser to do smaller ones if you really want to be honest about it. But let's have some fun with it. You guys saw me put some stuff in earlier, and then I found out that Bobby Portis got scratched, so my Brook Lopez lower is feeling kind of stupid right now, but we'll see how it goes. Let's have some fun. Let's play together. UnderdogFantasy.com is our new partner here on Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. Old Man is the code, or just click that link in the referral and you can get signed up over there. I'm Dan Vespers. Thanks so much as always, everybody. If you made it to this point, you have to subscribe. Like this video, pre-like our trade deadline live show. That is going to be with Adam King. He's one of our hosts on that bad boy. He'll be on the show for half of it because, again, it's the middle of the night for him when we start that sucker. David Williams will be on for the rest of the show. And then we got a lot of guests. Noah, Dan McKee, Thunder Dan, Scott Keller, Steve St. Pierre, Alex Rickling, and counting. There will be more coming on. That's just all who we have confirmed right now. So that's going to be a super fun time. I don't know when this show's airing. I have a backlog of amazing stash shows. It'll drop when it drops. So whenever you're seeing this, thanks for watching, everybody. I love having you around. See you guys on social media, at Dan Vespers on Twitter. So long for now.